Solving rational equations. Example 1. 3 divided by x plus 1 equals 9 divided by 4x plus 5. To solve this, the easiest way is going to just be to cross multiply, like we were solving proportions. So now we will have 3 times 4x plus 5 equals 9 times x plus 1. Let's go ahead and distribute that 3 into the parentheses. 3 times 4x gives me 12x, plus 3 times 5 gives me 15, equals, distribute the 9. 9 times x is 9x, plus 9 times 1 is 9. Now I just have a linear equation to solve. So we are going to move all our x's to the left, subtract 9x from both sides of the equation. 12 minus 9 is going to give me 3x plus 15 equals 9. Now I can subtract 15 from both sides of the equation. So I get 3x equals negative 6. And from here, I will just divide both sides by 3. So I get x is equal to negative 2. Make sure that you check the negative 2 in with the original equation. So if I go back up to the top here, to make sure that I check my answer, I have 3 over negative 2 plus 1. We need to make sure that equals 9 over 4 times negative 2 plus 5. Negative 2 plus 1 is going to give me negative 1. So that's 3 over negative 1, which is 3, equals 9 over 4 times negative 2 is negative 8 plus 5. So that's going to give me 9 over negative 3. I'm sorry, this right here became a negative 3 because 3 divided by negative 1 is negative 3. So now I have negative 3 equals 9 divided by negative 3 is negative 3. It checks out. So my answer there is x equals negative 2. Excuse me. Example 2. An alloy is formed by mixing 2 or more metals. Sterling silver is an alloy composed of 92.5% silver and 7.5% copper by weight. If you have 15 ounces of 800 grade silver, which is 80% silver and 20% copper, how much pure silver should you mix with the 800 grade silver to make sterling silver? Okay, so we need to go back and think about what we were given. And in the problem, it says that sterling silver is composed of 92.5% silver and 7.5% copper. Well, we're given a mixture that we have. Excuse me. So let's start off with the percent, because we need to know how much pure silver we should mix. So let's start off with the percent of copper in the mixture. Percent of copper in mix. And that's going to equal the weight of the copper divided by the total weight of the mixture. Okay, so given that, my percent of copper, if it's 7.5%, that's going to be 7.5 out of 100. My weight of my copper, well, it's 15 ounces, and it's 20% copper, so I'm going to multiply 0.2 by my 15 ounces, because I know out of that 15 ounces, 20% of it is copper. And then I'm going to divide that by my total weight. So that total weight is going to be the 15 ounces plus X, where X is the amount of silver we add. Amount of silver added. Okay, so again, we still have a ratio here basically that we can, or a proportion that we can solve by cross multiplying. So if I multiply across here, I'm going to have 7.5 times 15 plus X equals, multiplying this way, I'm going to have 100 times 0.2 times 15. So multiplying that out, 7.5 times 15 is going to give me 112.5 plus 7.5 times x is just 7.5x equals, multiplying all three of these together, 100 times 0.2 times 15 is going to give me 300. Again, now I just have an equation that I need to solve. It's a linear equation. So subtract 112.5 from both sides. On the left, they cancel, and I have 7.5x is equal to 187.5. Now, just divide by your 7.5 on both sides. So then x is equal to 25. So this means since x is equal to 25, x was the amount of silver added. So that means that we should add 25 ounces of silver, of pure silver, to the mixture to make sterling silver. Okay? Example 3. So right here, again, we're solving each equation. Excuse me. Before we solve, right here on the left side, we're going to have to go back to 8.3 and, I'm sorry, no, 8.4. We're going to have to go back to 8.4 and add these fractions. So if I have 5 over x plus 7 over 4, they do not have a common denominator, so I'm going to have to multiply the left side by 4 on top and bottom, the right side by x on top and bottom, so that they both have 4x in their denominator. Now, 4 times 5 gives me 20, plus 7 times x gives me 7x. That's all over 4x, and it's equal to negative 9 over x. Now, right here, the negative is just out front of everything. When I rewrote it, I wrote the negative in front of the 9. That way I can cross multiply and I know exactly what my negative goes with. So I'm going to cross multiply again, and I have x times the 20 plus 7x equals the negative 9 times 4x. Okay, so distribute my x. X times 20 is 20x. X times 7x is 7x squared. And that's equal to negative 9 times 4x is going to be negative 36x. Excuse me. If I move everything to the same side, I would add 36 to both sides, 36x, to both sides of my equation. 20x plus 36x is going to give me 56x plus 7x squared equals 0. Now then, to solve this, well, they both have an x, so I can factor out an x, but they also both have a 7. 56 is divisible by 7. So I can factor out 7x. When I do that, I'm left with 8 plus x on the inside equals 0. So now just separate. 7x equals 0 and 8 plus x equals 0. So right here, divide by 7. X is equal to 0. And here, subtract 8 from both sides. And x is equal to negative 8. So, again on this, make sure that you check each answer. So if I'm checking each answer, let's first check the 0. If I have 5 over x, that means I have 5 over 0. So we're going to change that x right there to a 0 plus 7 over 4 equals negative 9 over x, so negative 9 over 0. Well, you cannot divide by 0. So those two pieces make that not work. Now go ahead and check your other answer, the negative 8. So I have 5 over negative 8 plus 7 fourths, and it should come out to equal negative 9 over negative 8. Well, if I take and add, excuse me, the negative 5 over 8 and the 7 over 4, I am going to get 9 over 8. And on the right side, negative divided by negative is positive 9 over 8. So it checks out, which means that x equals negative 8 is a good answer. So now, let's move on and go to our next problem, B. On problem B, again, you have to do the same thing. We are going to cross multiply. Well, before I can cross multiply, I have a 1 here that I can't really do anything with. Excuse me. So we're going to have to find a common denominator on this left side, which is x minus 5. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by x minus 5. So now that times 1 is just x minus 5 minus 8. So now on the left side, I have x minus 5 minus 8 over x minus 5. And that's equal to 3 over x. Well, if I simplify that, negative 5 minus 8 is going to give me negative 13. So I have x minus 13 over x minus 5, and that's equal to 3 over x. Now you can cross multiply. Make it easy on yourself. X times x minus 13 equals 3 times x minus 5. So now multiply it out. X times x is x squared. X times negative 13 is negative 13x. 3 times x is 3x, minus 3 times 5 is 15. Move everything to the left. So subtract 3x, add 15. Subtract 3x, add 15. On the right, they cancel. And on the left, you have x squared minus 16x plus 15 equals 0. You are going to have to factor this, or you can you're going to have to either factor it or use quadratic formula. This one's pretty easy to factor. Using P and S, if I'm multiplying to get 15 and adding to get negative 16, well, 15 times 1 is 15, but I need negative 16. So what about negative 15 times negative 1? Negative 15 minus 1 is 16, so that works. So now my two factors are going to be x minus 15 and x minus 1, and that's equal to 0. Now just take them and set them apart, equal to 0 each. So x minus 15 equals 0, x minus 1 equals 0, Here, add 15 to both sides. So x equals 15. And then add 1 to both sides. So x is equal to 1. Yet again, you must check your answer. So let's check the 15 first. If I have 1 minus 8 over 15 minus 5 equals 3 over 15. Well, let's see. 15 minus 5 is going to be 10. So that's 1 minus 8 over 10. And if I go ahead and subtract 1 minus 8 over 10, that is going to give me 1/5. Well, if I simplify 3 over 15, that also gives me 1/5. So that checks out. So x equals 15 is a good answer. Now, let's go ahead and check the 1. So 1 minus 8 over 1 minus 5 equals 3 over 1. 1 minus 5 is going to be -4, so I have 1 minus 8 over -4 equals 3 over 1, which is just 3. So let's go ahead and subtract 1 minus 8 over -4, and that's going to give me +3, which is equal to +3. So both answers work. So we are good to go there. And yes, 8 over 4 is 2, so you could have done it that way too, as simplifying. All right. Example 4. Alright, if I'm looking at example 4, and I have to solve 6 over x minus 3 equals 8x squared over x squared minus 9 minus 4x over x plus 3. Let's again work that right side out first. So I have 6 over x minus 3 equals 8x squared over. Factor the bottom, that's a difference of squares, so I have x plus 3, x minus 3, and that's minus 4x over x plus 3. Before I can work out anything on this right side, I have to be able to subtract these fractions, which means I need I need a common denominator. So I'm missing x minus 3 on this fraction, so I'm going to multiply both top and bottom by x minus 3. So now I have 6 divided by x minus 3 from the left side equals 8x squared minus, let's go ahead and distribute that 4x. So minus 4x times x is going to be minus 4x squared. Minus 4x times -3 is going to be positive 12x. All over x plus 3 times x minus 3. So I can simplify here. 8x squared minus 4x squared is going to give me 4x squared plus 12x over x plus 3 times x minus 3, and that's equal to the 6 over x minus 3 on the left side. Now let's go ahead and cross multiply. So when I cross multiply here, I get 6 times x plus 3 times x minus 3 equals, when I cross multiply on the other side, I'm going to get x plus, nope, not plus, I'm going to get x minus 3 times, now I have 4x squared, I'm going to go ahead and write it down, 4x squared plus 12x, but that factors. So let's go ahead and factor that out. 6x plus 3x minus 3 equals x minus 3 times, well, the common denominator there, or the common factor, greatest common factor, is going to be 4x. If I factor out a 4x, I'm left with x. 12x divided by 4x is plus 3. So now, if I were to go and divide both sides by x plus 3 times x minus 3, this side would cancel, and x plus 3 times x minus 3. Well, there's my plus 3's, and there's my minus 3's. Do not do that unless they're both going to cancel, so look ahead and make sure it's going to work. So now I have 6 equals 4x. I can divide by 4, and x is equal to 6 over 4, which is going to reduce to 3 over 2. Alright, so there we go. X equals 3 over 2. Make sure you check that answer. I'm not going to check it here, but you can just plug it into your calculator and check it and make sure that it works. And it looks like that's it. Here are a few problems, the 1 through 8. We did not work those out. If you would like, you may work those out, and you can come back and ask, and I'll give you the answers for those. And it looks like we're done.